In a world filled with Bigfoot podcasts, where believers and skeptics clash, one podcast stands tall, ready to separate fact from fiction. Welcome to That Bigfoot Podcast. Brian and Wayne are here to call out the hoaxers, shoot down the myths, and weed through the mountain of red circle squatches. There is no Bigfoot Kool-Aid drinking going on here. We're not here to blindly believe, but to uncover the truth about the legendary creature that has captivated the world for centuries. Each week, we'll dive deep into the evidence and share jaw-dropping insights that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Bigfoot. So, if you're tired of the same old stories and want a podcast that separates fact from fiction, join us on That Bigfoot Podcast. Get ready for a wild ride through the mysterious world of Bigfoot. Strap in, skeptics and believers alike, because That Bigfoot Podcast is about to blow your mind. Don't miss out. Like, subscribe, and comment now, and let's uncover the truth together. That Bigfoot Podcast, where the bullshit ends and the hunt for truth begins.
Here we are once again live on the Sasquatch Odyssey podcast YouTube, but we're actually doing a That Bigfoot podcast live. And for once, I'm not really alone. We have the people here tonight. Let's go around the horn. Hello, Miss Tiffany. How are you?
I am successful and blessed and way better off than P. Diddy, so I am good.
And highly favored. Do you have any kind of lubricants that you want to talk about, baby oil or anything? It's probably too soon for that.
Well, I mean, it ain't baby oil. If we're gonna be real, it's some liquid eggs.
God, it is way too soon. We're probably going to get canceled before this ever starts. Wayne, what's going on, man?
What's up, everybody? I'm here. Glad to be here. I love y'all.
Wayne, you seem a little low energy. Are you okay? Do you need a Flintstone vitamin, or are you going?
I may be pissing dirty. I don't know.
Are you pissing dirty with like 10 milligrams or something? We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
And I think this is a first. I'm not sure if this is a first, but somebody can call me out on this or not. I think this is the first live that we've ever had Dani on the show for. So welcome to the show.
Welcome, Daniel.
You got any mean words you want to share with me, Brian, since you were throwing them around before I got here and everybody?
Brian's just a fucking dickhead. That's all there is to it.
He's an asshole. That's what I tell everybody.
What happens before we go live stays where that is. It's in the back of the stage. We all love each other here. We're all friends and family. I'm going to go into the chat really quick here and say a couple of hellos to everybody, and then we will get started. Chris Blaylock, her and Troy have been first and foremost. Ristel is in the house. We have, let me see. There's a lot going back between those two. We have Nona Boss is in the house. We have Layla in the house. Hello, dear. Glad to see that you have power and you have internet so you can join us. We got Robert Matler. What's going on, dude? We're going to talk
to Matler. What's up, buddy? I love you.
We're going to be, Wayne loves everybody tonight. He's really chill, and it's all about the love with him. Robert, we're going to get into some of the shenanigans we had with you, my friend. So nothing is off the table tonight. Jermac, hello. Who doesn't have their notifications silenced? Cindy Bailey, hello. How are you? Everybody's piling in the chat, so we'll get started. Before we get into the show, we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to have some laughs, but I do want to take a second and just acknowledge the fact that we know that everybody in the country has been following what's been going on here in the southeastern United States and Florida and here in North Carolina and some of the other states that were affected by the huge storm over the last couple of days. I mean, it's literally just a few days ago. It seems like it's been going on for a month, but it's only been a few days. And I know that there are people out there that are suffering, that do not have power, that do not have water, that do not have internet. A lot of people have lost their lives. I mean, it's been something I've been trying to catch up on. Dani and I had a conversation when I got home from the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference, which we're going to get into. And I started looking at some of the devastation. He has definitely been doing a really good job keeping up on social media and posting that stuff for everybody who's trying to figure out what's going on and making sure we're safe first and foremost. I do want to say a huge thank you to everybody who reached out and asked about our safety. And while Wayne and I were traveling out to Missouri, cannot thank you guys enough for checking in on us. We've tried to do the best we can with checking in with people individually. obviously I can't do that with everybody. So we've tried to do as much social media stuff as possible to let everybody know that we're okay. We are very fortunate. We were going to be without power for probably 2 weeks. We were going to be without internet for a month. And here we are back online just a few days later. So that's a huge thank you to all the men and women that are out there on the line that are doing the work. The linemen, men and women that are out there putting people's power back on, the people that are out there busting their ass to they're literally in some cases having to do patchwork to get people's internet back up and running just so they can communicate with the world. So we are fully aware that our hearts and prayers go out to everybody who has been affected, those who have lost loved ones, who've literally lost everything they had. I mean, there's parts of towns that were there a week ago that are just gone. They're just wiped away off the face of the earth. So even though we're going to be having some fun tonight and laughing, in the back of our minds, trust me, we are thinking about all of those folks, and we're doing as much as we possibly can. I mean, part of our road, we were stuck at home for most of the day today because part of our road collapsed, and they were out there doing a repair job today. So I got into town and helped a local, I guess it would be a organization that was just helping kids try to do something artsy to get over some of the trauma and some of the things that were going on. And it took me an hour to do something that should have taken me 20 minutes just because I had to drive a different way. And fortunately, we have a secondary way to get off of our road. So again, we just want to be aware of that. And I'm sure that'll come up over the course of the evening because this is a free-for-all Friday on a Thursday. We are going to let you guys be a part of the show. I'm actually going to put the link to join the show. We've never done that before, so we're going to put that in the chat for you guys here in a little bit and let you join the show if you want. We've been doing those shitty phone calls where nobody can hear but me, and that's just not working for us. So we're going to try something different to let you guys be a part of the show. Danny does have to go. We have a dog that got injured today on the walk, so he's got to go take care of her here in a few minutes. So I brought him on specifically to talk a little bit about, he was here going through that here in North Carolina where I was flying off. I was jet setting out to Missouri to hang out with Wayne and everybody at the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference. So I wanted to bring Danny on just a little bit and talk a little bit about what it was like in those couple of early days when things were going on. And he was completely cut off from the world. So he's got to talk a little bit about that. And then he's going to exit out of the building stage left and go take care of Xena and put her to bed for the evening. But talk a little bit about that, Danny. What was it like? I know the weather was horrible for us for the first 24 hours leading up to me leaving out, but you were stuck here in the throes of it. So what was it like for you being in the middle of the storm?
Yeah, so we had rain roll in Thursday night. You and I were both still here, and your flight out on Friday had been bumped up from the afternoon to the morning. So you had to wake up early Friday morning once the storm had already arrived and leave for the airport. And when I woke up in the morning, you had left and we had no power and no internet. And I tried to leave the property, but our neighbors on one side had a mudslide that blocked the road and you had driven the truck. So I was left with our Mini Cooper and it couldn't pass. And then on the other side of the road, several trees came down with live power lines. So I was stuck here. That was Friday morning and was unable to reach anyone, yourself included. And I mean, Brian and I grew up in the South, so the majority of our friends and family are all in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida, which were the states that were most drastically hit. So I had no idea. I had no fucking clue what was going on. I was able to run the generator for a couple of hours and make contact with a neighbor up the street. Thankfully, we were able to kind of coordinate and work together and at least clear out the tree so that we could get back and forth to each other's property just to keep an eye on and check on one another. But that was Friday, and I didn't make contact with you until Saturday evening or Sunday. And even then it wasn't like in real time. It was just, I finally got something you had sent and hoped that I could send something out to you. Because all of Lenore, which is the city we live in, was completely black. We drove 45 minutes finally on Sunday to Hickory, North Carolina. And I still couldn't even get cell phone service. Most of the lights and infrastructure was still out. Most of the stores and places that people rely on, you know, for their daily needs were still dark. It was like the fucking wild, wild west, to be honest. So yeah, that was kind of, I had no idea what was going on. I was able to make contact with my mom briefly and had an aunt and a cousin who were trapped in their house in South Carolina and had to be cut out and displaced. The majority of our friends and family still currently speaking, don't have power, don't have access to reliable water, internet, and communications. So it wasn't until Monday that we really were able even to confirm the majority of our family and friends were even allocated for or safe. So yeah, and then it was just trying to get you home because your flight kept getting delayed or whatnot. And again, you were in the woods and it was a shit show. So I'm glad you made it home. And then, I mean, it wasn't until Monday afternoon that we even had access to news and information. And
so, Danny, was it just mainly rain that you experienced? High winds?
Rains, high winds. I mean, our trees that are, I mean, I don't know, I'm horrible with numbers and math, Brian, so step in. But I mean, like our trees on our property that are 2 feet. I mean, our tiny house is in the middle of woods. We didn't clear trees. We cleared a driveway to bring the tiny house into the woods because I'm just weird like that. The whole idea of being on top of a mountain, looking over at everyone, you know, I don't want that. I want to be in the woods, like in the treetops. So yeah, the trees on our property, the tops of all of our trees were literally bent down, touching the ground. I mean, Brian and I, we survived a pretty bad hurricane when we were woofing for a while. I mean, we had to sleep in a horse trailer with like baby pigs and stuff like that. So the storm wasn't so much scary for me being here alone and whatnot. It was more of just the inability to just know that people were safe. You know, everyone kept saying, "Oh, I hope Brian makes it home." I mean, honestly, he could stay away for a few more days and I'd be okay. I just wanted to know people were safe and okay. But yeah, it was floods, it was rain, it was winds.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was crazy. You know, Brian and I were in Missouri experiencing some of the best fucking weather that there's been in I don't know how long. And we're communicating back home, or more so Brian than myself, with you, talking about all the devastation and everything that you guys are going through, and we're living it up. You know, the weather was fantastic where we were at.
Yeah, yes, we have proof. We're going to play a clip of that here, living it up here. We were living La Vida Loca in the middle of the woods, but it was quite I think that's the thing that boils down to me. And again, we're bitching about the minorest of things because people literally lost their entire livelihoods in some cases, and people have certainly lost their lives. And we're certainly not saying that we're had it bad by any stretch of the imagination, but just that not being able to connect with your loved ones and have a conversation with somebody and just know that they're safe. Because it was just a comedy of errors. He didn't have anything here. And then once he was really able to communicate, we were leaving the conference and going out into the woods where I had no service and we had to drive back and forth. It was definitely a lot of shenanigans, but I am definitely glad to be home. I'm glad that we've sort of started putting things back together and yeah. So, well, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to go and take care of Zena, so we will let you go. If we have any questions for you, I will write you a strongly worded email and send those over to you.
Okay, yeah, I dare you to. Someone please put something in the chat so that Brian can be challenged to write me whatever bullshit he just said he would. I'll hang out for a little bit. Zena's she's all right for right now. I can keep an eye on her from here.
Okay. Well, we have another guest waiting in the wings who has been waiting patiently. So I am going to bring on it. This is actually our host from the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and Campout. And she has a special appearance she's making here specifically for Wayne, I believe. Let's see. Oh, there she is.
What are we doing here? That's a titty high window right there.
Welcome to the show, Marianne. How are you, dear?
Just for you, Wayne. Just for you.
You're going to give people the wrong idea, okay? That was far more sexual than anything I talked about. Okay.
What happens in the woods stays in the woods, guys. I mean, for real.
That's right.
Thank you so much for that, Mary Ann.
He was laughing earlier. That's what he was laughing at. That's what he could see.
Yes, none of you guys could see it, but I could see her preparing to make her entrance onto the show. We had so much fun at the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference, and particularly, I have to say for myself, the Campout afterwards. Mary Ann, you've been doing this. What is this, like the 4th year in a row that you've done this?
It's the 3rd year that we've done this. Yes. And we're just honing it in every year, getting it down to where we want it to be.
Well, I'll speak for myself, and I'll certainly let Wayne talk here about it in a second. But from me to you, I cannot thank you enough. I've done this privately, and I just want to do it publicly for allowing Wayne and I to be a part of that. Because I tell you, we made lifelong friends at the conference and particularly bonding at the Campout. It is something that I don't know that I've ever laughed that hard, frankly, for that amount of time back to back. And you'll hear it in this clip I'm going to play here shortly.
I'm so scared.
Oh, yeah. You have no idea.
You should be.
It's about 2 minutes, but I wanted to pick what would really give people the opportunity to have a feeling of what it was like to be there, just sitting around the tent and the campfire at night, having a conversation and hanging out. And that this clip does it. So I think I should just play the clip now. I think I'm just going to play the clip, and then we can come back and have a conversation about this. So I don't know if this was the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd night of the Campout, but here's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain for the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and subsequent.
I have not heard any of this. I don't know what he's about to play, so I'm scared.
He hasn't heard it today, but I believe your voice is on this recording, sir. All right, here we go. That is my favorite thing that has happened so far this week. Can I touch your nipple? We were fighting right after she said that, and I was like, do you understand why he thinks we're a fucking couple?
That's right.
We bicker like old biddies. I wouldn't trade nothing for you, though.
Can I ask you a personal question? Sure. Are you and your partner gay? I am not gay. My partner is gay.
But he's not gay for me.
Yeah. He's got his own husband.
We told him it's kind of like gay and silent Bob. I'm not gay. Maybe just a little bit. He's all the way gay. He loves.
I'm not gay, but $20 is $20.
Yeah, it's not gay. You paid for it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my God. Oh, my stomach is killing me.
Wayne,
I can't with
Man.
you
y'all.
have to tell Shane about the titty high windows.
The titty high windows. Have you ever been in her home?
Yeah, no, I heard you say yes.
So you've been in her home. You've been in the bathroom. You've seen that one fucking window that's not frosted.
Yeah.
There, it's on purpose.
Look at the boy you're here.
She's a tease.
Oh,
She gets out of that shower. Before she gets out, she stretches.
Really? We're selling the house next door, and the real estate agent only shows it at 7:30 on Tuesday.
Exactly.
oh my God.
Titty high windows.
Titty high windows. I'm telling you, that is.
How soon that gets in a podcast.
Oh, the next fucking episode.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be the recap episode. Titty High Windows is the
Is the
recap
name
of this.
of the fucking episode. Titty
Yes.
high windows. I'm telling you right
It's
now.
happening.
Missouri titty high windows.
Oh, this next fucking show's be a fucking riot.
When are we going to record that? It's got to be out Friday.
Oh, that's not happening, dude.
Oh, it's got to happen.
Oh, that's not happening.
Oh, you ain't got
Get you some
internet.
dial up.
So there you have it. That was just a little peek behind the window of one of the, at this point, I probably got 20 hours of audio to go through that we recorded over the course of that weekend. But
Okay, let me just explain the titty high windows. Mary Ann so graciously offered for me to stay as a guest in her home. A few other of the speakers and people that were participating, they stayed as well, but they didn't get the royal treatment like I did. I got the guest room all to myself, and let me just tell you this shit. When I first get there, it's Mary Ann and myself only. I'm waiting on her. She had just dropped Brian off, picked him up at the airport, dropped him off at his hotel, and then I beat her to her house. And then she shows up, gives me the tour, introduced me to the awesome doggies that were great. Then she takes me up to the room that I'm going to be sleeping on. And there's this fucking shrine. That's the only way I can put it. There's skulls. There's a like a goat skull or something hanging on the wall. There's another one on the dresser.
It's not a goat. It's a boar.
Oh, excuse the fuck out of me. In the center of this dresser is a little ashtray with some damn burnt sage in the middle. And I'm like, is there something you're not telling me? Keep in mind, she lives in a house that's over 100 years old. It's beautiful. I kept bragging about how beautiful her house is. But some sage now. Come on, she's smudging the room that I'm sleeping in. What's going on here? I'm a bit worried. She does tell me, though, that they've never really had any paranormal activity in the house. But anyway, titty high windows. I go to bed that night. I get up 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning. Ask her about the shower, go in there to take my shower. She's got one of these old-timey, beautiful antique tubs with like the claw feet and everything, and it's kind of raised up a little bit with like the oval circle on top with the shower curtain and everything. It's beautiful. I've never showered in one of those old-time bathtubs. It was great. But when I get out, she's got 4 windows in the bathroom. There's a window here, a window here. You got top, bottom, top, bottom. These 3 are all frosted where you can't see through them. This one up here on the left is not frosted.
Yes, it's it is. They're all frosted in the bathroom.
No, ma'am. I beg to freaking differ.
I will take the picture.
Straight through this window. There's no blinds, there's no curtains, nothing. And you remember me saying the bathtub is raised a little bit. So I'm 6 foot tall. When I get out of the shower, you probably get like bottom titty down a little bit from that window. But someone like Mary Ann, a little bit shorter, it's titty high. So I just imagine her throwing back these shower curtains, taking a big stretch, titty high in this window. There's only one window that's not frosted, and it's that one. Titty high window. That's all I could think about.
Well, anybody who just walked into the show for the first time, there's a few people in the chat saying, what have I walked into? And Robert Matler wanted to know if anybody got pictures of the minion. I did not, Robert, but we all saw it, and we will never be able to unsee Wayne's minion outfit when he came out of the tent on the second morning when it was a little bit nipply outside, and he looked like a fucking minion when he got out. But there you go.
I love my fucking overalls. Y'all can shut up.
We love them too, my friend. It was awesome. So clearly there were a lot of laughs that were going on that weekend. So many amazing people. There's too many people to thank, but we got to hang out. We hang out with some of the most amazing people. Will, the owner of the property, was out there. Super cool dude. Amazing property, amazing place. We heard some really amazing things, some really cool audio that I captured. I started going through some of the audio, but I literally have probably 20 hours of audio to get through overnight when we were asleep. But we did have this weird sound while we've got you guys here. Before we get into some other stuff tonight, I want to play this for everybody. I was playing this before we came on the air. This is the first time Wayne has heard it on the recording that I captured. We heard this live the last morning that we were there. And I want to get your take on it, Marianne. We didn't really get a chance to talk a whole lot about this. I talked about it a little bit when we were there, but Shane Carpenter was there. Shane just said, hey, that was a barred owl. Yeah, I heard that. But it was really strange, and I'm going to play this for you guys. If you didn't see it already, I've dropped the StreamYard link to join us in the chat. If you guys are out there and you want to join us, Robert Matler, I think you totally should. You have an opportunity to do that. So if you want to do that, click on the link, and we'll have you backstage, and then we'll get you on the show at some point in time. But I want to play this really quickly and get some other people in the chat might have heard this before. Now, part of this sounds like an owl to me, but pay very close attention to the very first second or so of this. It's a really weird sound, and I'm going to tell you what I think it sounds like after we play this. This is a short clip. I'll play it a couple of times for you guys so you can all hear it. Here we go. Okay, that clearly sounds like an owl to me, but it sounded really big. And what's going on with this scream? I'm going to play that part for you guys again. I'm going to play it again and just pay attention to this scream in the beginning of this.
That's a scream. That's a woman screaming.
Marianne, you've been out there this is the third year in a row you've been out there. First and foremost, what do you make of that? Do you think that's just an owl? Do you think there was some sort of scream in the beginning of that? What do you make of that?
We heard that particular sound a couple of different times, and we have never heard that out there before. Normally, this property is pretty quiet. I mean, they would come up and tap on that equipment, that old farm equipment. But as far as like whoops and hollers and different things like that, we haven't had any of that going on. And the property owner even says it, I mean, he hears whistles and some stuff like that occasionally, but not that particular sound. And, my thought was, do we have a juvenile out there, that's big enough to be up and running around and, causing a little bit of, things to happen? Because, I mean, I don't know, that, like you said, doesn't really sound like an owl. And if it is, that's a big damn owl, so it's like, my thought on that sound was that maybe we had, like I said, a juvenile that's just, learning the nuances of communication and mimicking and all of that.
You see, the crazy thing about all of this, so many people heard this, and they all go back to the same area of time. I thought it was like around the 5:30 mark. Marianne says she was like around 5:30. Brian actually came back and said it was 5:42 when he heard it, and then I thought Marty said that she heard it around 5:48 or 6 o'clock, somewhere in that area. So it was close enough to wake several people up. And what I told Brian, because that's one of the first things he asked me that last morning, did you hear that this morning? And I guess that initial scream is what woke me up, because all I really heard was the two barred owls calls after it. I knew something before those calls woke me up, but I didn't know what it was. But now that it sounds like a woman screaming, Brian, how many times in your time interviewing people and talking to people have you heard it sounded like a woman being murdered? Because I've heard it several times, and that's what it sounded like, a woman screaming for her life, is how I take it.
Yeah, and it was like I was telling you and Tiff before we came on the air when I played that. Even if somebody had stepped out of their tent, they said, okay, I looked at my phone. When I went through the audio, I could hear myself rolling over in my cot and checking my phone, because that's exactly what I did. I was facing the opposite direction of the tent. As soon as that happened, I rolled over, picked up my phone. It was 5:42 on my phone. So it was all right around that time. Everybody's 5:48, 5:42, somewhere between 5:40 and 6 o'clock. But even if somebody had walked out there and said, I'm going to do a scream in the woods for whatever reason in the middle of camp and wake everybody up at 5:40 in the morning, To me, there's no way that even if there was an owl sitting there about to go off, that the timing would be that perfect. Now, I did have a conversation with Shane, and he said, oh, yeah, I've heard that before out at the 400. They make that screaming sound. He said it's kind of like it's not a defensive thing. It's sort of an agitated sound that they make when they're upset about something or something's after them or whatever the case may be. But I couldn't find anything that sounded exactly like a woman screaming. I hear vocal cords. I work with audio constantly. I've sang my entire life. I've heard people on microphones and making different sounds with their voices and their vocal cords. It sounds like a woman screaming to me. It does not sound like an animal. So I don't know if anybody's in the chat. I mean, people are saying it sounds like an owl screaming into a coffee can. That's not an owl.
Hey, Brian, real quick. Wendy Warren, I don't know if you saw this. Wendy Warren is saying that she recorded barred owls. I record barred owls. They do scream like that, especially during mating season.
Okay. Well,
have you put the audio, Brian, through BirdNet, the app?
Not yet. No, I just pulled it off today for this. We threw this together at the last minute yesterday, and I thought, well, I'm going to at least have something to play. And I went in and pulled that out, but I haven't had a chance to run it through anything. So there you go. I mean, I'm not saying there's wings. I record barred owls. They do scream like that, especially during mating season. But because they scream like that, I heard plenty. I did do a cursory Google search, and I came up with several videos and audio clips. They do scream, but not like that.
We'll have to look into it a little bit further.
Yeah, and Wendy, if you have anything as far as audio, please send it to me. You can send me an email, brian@paranormalworldproductions.com. I'd love to hear that. If you have something that's very close to that or exactly like a woman screaming like that at the beginning of the call, I would love to hear that. So, and I'd love to know when the mating season for a barred owl happens to be. Is it now? I don't know.
No, I looked it up. It says barred owl's mating season begins in February and lasts through August.
Okay, well, there you have it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, we're in October.
We do have a barred owl expert out there somewhere that might could tell us.
Barred owl expert, if you're there, can you hear me now? Yeah, I've put the link several times. It's under Sasquatch Odyssey and Paranormal World Productions. If anybody in the chat is wanting to join us live here on the show, now would be the time to do that. If you're a little shy and you don't want to do that, let me run the banner for the phone. We'll let you call in if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and talk about anything you've heard here so far, anything that we haven't talked about. There's a couple of things I want to get into specifically with Wayne. I thought we'd probably end up doing an entire show about this, but since I have you all and have your undivided attention, I was watching a video actually before I went out of town, and Wayne and I talked a little bit about this, I think on another episode. But there's some Paul Freeman stuff that's come up recently that I definitely want to get into about his first video, not the one that everybody knows about, but there was another one that preceded that I had not seen and Wayne had not seen. And frankly, I don't think there's a ton of people out there that has seen this video. I will definitely link to Brent Deal from The Tall One's Dark. He did a couple of back-to-back videos about Paul Freeman. Wayne and I clearly talked about this. Pat and I got into a sort of a pissing contest, a very public pissing contest about Paul Freeman about a month or so ago. But, and to be fair, when we were doing that episode, I was a little bit more upset about some other things and not just the Paul Freeman stuff. But look, I've been public about supporting Paul. Michael, his son, is a friend of mine. And I do have that investment, I guess, for lack of a better term. I want his stuff to be real, but look, you guys know me well enough to know I'm skeptical about everything related to Bigfoot. So I don't have any problems with something not being real and me eating crow and saying, I was wrong about that. So this first video that Brent sort of broke down, I think the first video, and we'll link to these in the show notes for you guys when this comes out on the audio podcast so you can see it. I don't have the links handy, or I'd put them in the chat for you guys now, but you can go over to The Tall One's Dark. It's Brent's last couple of videos. This video that happened with Paul Freeman before the one that everybody knows about. It happened months, I think 6 or 8 months before the actual footage that we're all, the baby lift footage that we're talking about that happened later in 1992. there's a video of Paul basically pulling up into this area, not too unlike where we camped, honestly, at the Campout. And there's some wood lines a little farther down, and he's pulling up in his truck, and he's talking about seeing a Bigfoot. And he's recording. He's already got his recorder going. But you don't see a Bigfoot. And then he gets out of the truck and slams the door. And then in the distance, probably I estimate about 75 yards away, there's this big dark figure that looks like it's walking across, and it looks like a Bigfoot. It's hard to say. It's very undescript. And the first thing that Paul says is, "Oh God, I've been waiting 10 years for this," as this thing walks across the trail, right? So there's a lot of red flags there that started waving for me almost immediately. And one of the ones that Wayne and I have talked about, the big one for me is this guy's been researching Bigfoot for 10 years, right? You see a Bigfoot, or he claims to see this Bigfoot. And the first thing he does is get out of his truck and slams the door. Now, Danny and I were both cops. He had an FTO that used to give him a lot of shit about getting out of the car and slamming his door, right? But as a police officer, you pull up on a call. How many times, Danny, did you pull up on a call where you had to be stealthy and you get out of the car and what's the first thing you do when you close your door?
What?
Do you slam your door if you're trying to be stealthy?
No.
Okay, well, there you go. You have it from the horse's mouth, folks. The expert here, former police officer, City of Atlanta, Danny telling it's not a good idea to share. But I joke, but we can all agree, right? You're not going to get out and you're seeing this thing that you've been waiting 10 years to see. I mean, you don't even do that with a deer or a rabbit, right? If there's something in your yard that you
don't want to spook it.
Exactly. Any seasoned investigator of anything that spent more than 10 minutes in the woods knows you don't get out and slam your door. So that's kind of first and foremost red flag number one for me. And then he starts walking towards this thing, and he starts immediately pointing the camera at the ground looking for footprints. He's not looking for the creature anymore. He's not even paying attention if the creature's around for safety. He's looking at the ground, and of course, miraculously, there are footprints there. Right? So, but Brent does a very good job. There was actually a guy, Michael Dennett. He's passed away since he wrote these articles, but he wrote several articles back after this came out for the Skeptical Inquirer, or whatever they're calling themselves now. So take that with a grain of salt. They are out to crucify anybody who's into anything that could possibly be related to Bigfoot or any cryptid or UFO, but these are pretty good articles that this guy wrote. So Paul has this experience. He goes back and he tells his boss, "Hey, look, Roger, I had this experience where I saw a Bigfoot and I found tracks." Well, Roger Baker, his boss, calls in the wildlife biologist, Rodney Johnson, who goes out there and he makes the discovery of these tracks. And he says, now this is a wildlife biologist sent out there by the Wildlife Service. He says it looks like the leaf litter and the pine needles where these footprints were found was brushed aside. So somebody cleared a path to make a clear impression, right? His words, not mine. He said that it appeared that the foot had been moved back and forth and rolled back and forth several times, like almost in an attempt to make this footprint. The stride didn't change when the footprints went up incline. They went up a hill. The stride remained exactly the same when this thing was walking on level ground and then made its way up a hill. There was no heel or toe slippage in the footprint at all.
Yeah.
Which is not normal. Any person, any animal that walks has some sort of toe and heel slippage. It's just the natural way that we walk. Our gaits are designed to do that and cause that. So that was that. Well, the Forest Service wasn't even satisfied with that. They went a step further and called in this tracker. And this wasn't Joe down the road who had a couple of coon dogs that had been hunting since he was a kid. This is Joel Hardin. This guy is a known tracker. All right. He is a very well-known, respected tracker of human beings. Like, he's out looking for people who are escaping the law and those kind of things. And he's a man tracker, right? He comes in and he's pretty much agreeing with Johnson, the biologist, saying, this doesn't look like a person made these tracks, to the point where he wrote a book later on called Tracker. And he alludes to that in his book, that Paul Freeman faked these footprints and then admitted it. So, and then later on, of course, I think it was, like I said, 6 or 8 months later, the footage, the baby lift footage that we are all familiar with, comes out. And a lot of people have said, and we talked about this a little bit when we did our show about a month or so ago. I was defending Paul, right? And I'm still on the fence about this. But if these things are true, it makes me really rethink where I was on the Freeman footage. So let's go around the horn really quickly here. Tiffany, was this something that's been on your radar? Were you familiar with this other video from Paul Freeman? And how does it make you feel about some of the things that I just talked about?
No, I was like right now, years old, when I heard about this from you. I had no idea there was another video that he had done outside of his infamous, oh, there he goes video. But I mean, there's a lot of red flags there. A whole lot of red flags. The fact that there's no slippage in the feet, the strides don't change. Why does it look like it's rolled? What were the indications that said this was a rolled footprint? And why are you going to go into the woods and spread the leaf litter around? I mean, it would be more convincing to leave all that there. It's hinky. It's hinky. I don't want to say Freeman's a hoaxer, but I mean, you got to question everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll never come out and say that unless there's really a smoking gun. Like, it's very difficult. We've talked about that so many times, how difficult it is to prove that Bigfoot's real or this piece of evidence is real. It's just as difficult, if not more, to prove that something isn't. But there are indicators here. Outside of the red flags, would he get out and slam the door? Is that a great thing to do? No. But could he have made a mistake or not been thinking or just been excited? Sure. But when you get into the nuances of the footprints themselves, and you got a wildlife biologist and a very well-known tracker who immediately points out 2, 3, 4, 5 huge red flags for this thing not being made by a living creature. That in and of itself, for me, is huge. Wayne, what say you, man? What are you feeling about this whole Paul Freeman shenanigans?
Yeah, I think it was like Tiffany. I had never heard of a first film. I think it was the second day of the campout when we were headed on the road trip that we took that wasn't very productive. Marianne knows what I'm talking about. But that's when we had you and I, because it was you and I in my car talking about this, and I had never heard of it. And I just kept thinking, man, I've always been on the side of Paul Freeman footage is the second best, and it's close to the first. I mean, it's good footage. And now you're telling me this, and there's so many red flags about that. I mean, it was like this was his dry run, This was his practice for the big one, the one that worked. And I think you and I talked about, because when he pulls up, there's not a Bigfoot. He gets out, slams the door, and then you see the Bigfoot. Was that the sign? Was that, okay, whoever this is in the suit, when you hear me slam my door, walk out? I don't know. Maybe I'm gullible. Maybe I just want the Freeman footage to be legit, but it dampens it, man. It completely ruins it for me.
Yeah, but I think everyone in this field, whether you're doing what we're doing right now or you're out in the field like you guys do, I think we all want something tangible. We want something to be real. Like, did he BS this and then for real see one? Or are they both BS?
Well, I think what happens is you really have to, like Wayne said, Tiffany, I think I'm at this point where it's almost the Todd Standing effect. And I'm certainly not wanting to compare Paul Freeman and Todd Standing, but if you will fake one thing, then everything that you ever produce after that has to be questioned, because that's the big thing. This was first. This was the first thing that he put out there as far as filming a Bigfoot. And like Wayne said, there's so many red flags, like the slamming of the door is and people have postulated that it's Dwayne, his son, in the costume. Hey, when you hear me slam the door, that's when you walk out of the woods and I'm going to have the camera pointed at you and I'm going to film Bigfoot, right? So I don't know. There's just, when you look at those synchronicities of, I mean, it's really, it's damning in my opinion. And here's the other thing. And again, this is something that Brent brought out. He said it's almost like this has been scrubbed from the internet. How many times do people talk about this in the Bigfoot?
Never heard of it. Ever heard of it.
Right, because it's not one of those things that sheds very positive light on Bigfoot evidence in general. Because like you said, most people, well, I can't say most, a lot of people believe that the Paul Freeman footage, the baby lift footage, is probably the second best out there. Now, there are plenty of people who say it's just bullshit. It's always looked horrible. And even with the other enhancements that Doug Hychek and Alex and those guys did on the film, it's still not enough to convince a lot of people, right? I mean, for me, it's just, if I look at that video, number one, and now I look at video number two, it makes me question absolutely everything. And if he did, in fact, admit that the other story, and we're talking back in 1982 now, we're going back 10 years about seeing the family of Bigfoot and those prints that he said was alleged to have admitted that he faked 10 years prior. If you take the totality of the circumstances with everything there is, it really makes you scratch your head and go, I really have to take a second look at this. Because imagine if Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin had two previous incidents of hoaxery or fakery that were proven and or admitted to prior to the Patterson Gimlin film being filmed. Do you think we'd be still having the same conversations 50 plus years later after the PG film that we're having today? I think the conversation would be a lot different. It would certainly be a lot different for me knowing those facts. Marianne, where are you? Are you familiar with the Paul Freeman stuff? Are you familiar with this video 1 and video 2? And if so, where are you and where have you been on that subject?
Well, I did not know about this one that you're talking about. I just, was aware of the other one that was out there, and there were some issues in it. It's funny, Shane and I were talking about it one day, and I said, the biggest red flag in that one for me was, and this comes from listening to all the encounter stories of people always say these things don't turn at the neck. And if you look at that one, and I think that's the video where it's supposedly picking up the baby and everything else, it turns at the neck and looks directly at him. And it's like, how many thousands of people talk about when they've seen these things that their whole upper body turns? Not in that video. That thing turns at the neck real sharp. And it's like, for me, that's a red flag. But no, I have not heard about this other one. But everything that you're talking about, those are all red flags. I mean, that's all red flags. And maybe he is kind of like, how we were talking about some of these people that have hoax things. I believe at some point they've had something happen in the woods, but they've only had one thing happen. And they can't stand it. And they go out and they try to create something. And then they get themselves into these hoaxing situations, They've had something happen and they just can't stand it because nothing else happens. So then they go create their own. That's just my opinion.
Dani, you know people probably better than anybody on the panel because of your background, your sociology and psychology background. I know you're not really familiar with the footage. He's not really into the Bigfoot footage thing, and that's not what he does for us. So, but just given what you know about people, does it make sense to you that somebody like that who was wanting to fake possibly the biggest thing that ever faked, this Bigfoot video with this Bigfoot that was picking up a baby, does it make sense to you, just human nature, that you would go out and film and do a dry run and see how people react to it?
You keep doing my mic for me. I'm fully capable of handling my own microphone, dude. Yeah, no, it's October. The only thing I'm watching right now are horror movies. So I'm not watching this bullshit. But I think you all have got it figured out. I definitely agree with what you guys are sharing. And yeah, I'm in agreement with the group.
Okay, well, there you have it. Troy said, run the number again. I did. And he said, so Mr. Wolf can call in. Oh, shit, I better plug in my phone if somebody's going to call in. Let's see. Nobody wants to join on the live? I can't believe this. We've thrown this up here, and there's probably 50 people watching right now, and nobody has the balls to come on and face us.
Come on, people.
You don't even have to turn your camera on. You can keep your camera off and just talk to us. Okay, my phone is not really on, but I have it at a point where I can see it.
Call us, Troy. I want to hear your voice, buddy.
I want some of his food. That's what I want.
Hell yeah, I need some chili, bro.
Ever since I can't type in the chat because I can't log into YouTube on this computer, but yeah, ever since I saw Troy's name in the chat, my stomach's grumbling and I'm hungry.
Hey, Dani, how good was that barbecue, man?
It's the best barbecue I've tasted in 37 years of my life.
There you go.
That barbecue was fucking delicious.
It was
Troy
bomb.
the man.
I think we need to get Troy to Missouri and have a smoke off.
We tried.
I know. I'm going to throw it out there again.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Marianne, can Brian and I come back next year?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. My boobs got in the way, Wayne. I can't talk to you.
She was trying to talk, but she was looking out the titty high window at her neighbor.
And I'll tell you what.
I'm going to take a picture of those windows and prove you wrong.
Every night that I was there, it seemed like I had a headache or a crick in my neck or something. And Marianne, she is a massage therapist. She jumped in. I have never, in my 45 years of life, had a massage. I've never paid for a massage. And she jumped in there every night. And now I need a freaking massage. I'm going to start paying for them because of what this woman did to me. She got rid of my headaches, the crick in my neck. It was, oh my God, it was amazing.
I know what was really amazing is the fact that you found out she was a masseuse and then you had a headache.
Oh yeah.
Hey, it was amazing that now I can't say anything because she did give me a nice little neck and back massage, and it was exactly what the doctor ordered because after sleeping on that cot for the first night, my old ass was sore and it definitely worked it out. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think we should have Wayne give us the sound effects that we got while I was doing that.
Come on, Wayne, do it. Oh my God, you are an absolute nutcase, dude. Well, clearly nobody's going to fucking call in and nobody's going to join the show. So I guess we're just going to have to keep talking to ourselves. Wayne, what was your favorite? Did you have a favorite part about the conference, the Campout? Was there anything that stuck out to you? I know it's hard to
I've seen both of the cook ladies in the chat tonight. And I mean, the food was great. It was awesome. But I got to tell you, and I told Brian this, I told a couple other people, Robert, I'm really disappointed in Robert. Where the fuck are you, dude? Get on here with us.
He's in the chat. He's right there. He's right
Robert,
there.
Dude, come on. I love you, man. You're my brother.
I know he said I love y'all so fucking much, but no, he don't want to come on here.
He did tell us he's a little bit camera shy and he pees in his pants a little bit when he gets in front of people and he has to talk. So
you're pretty, okay? You're pretty enough. Get on here. If I can do it, you can do it. But anyway, the cook ladies. That I forget which night it was, but Marianne helped me out here. The pork tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Robert.
my freaking God. It was so good. We got 2. I mean, there was enough pork and the trimmings and all the stuff in these tacos for it to have been 4 tacos. But it was 2 tacos with a big slab of Mexican cornbread. Troy, I'm sorry, buddy. Cover your ears. Best campout meal I've ever had.
So that
It was
my husband, Robert, he smoked the chicken breasts that we had at the conference, and he also smoked that pork butt. Now, he says his secret is in the brine, and I'll tell you what's in the brine. I'm not telling you everything, but I know this much. There's a whole bottle of tequila in that brine.
Oh, really?
You and tequila make me crazy.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Maybe that has something to do with it.
He swears up and down it does. So
it was so good, y'all. I asked, I think it was Cindy. I asked that night if the recipe was in the book, the cookout, the recipe book that I bought, the Bigfoot cookout. And it wasn't. She's supposed to send me the recipe, but it was phenomenal, guys. I mean, oh my God, I cannot brag enough about those tacos.
Well, Troy is asking you a question, Wayne. How did the casting class go?
The casting class was amazing. I did an awesome job. I had Marianne stand up there and put her foot in the sand to create the mold. And then I created the hydrocal. I expertly told everyone how to do it. Nah, Brian did the class, y'all.
I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was into the story. I was going to see where all it went. But yes, it was excellent. But I have a treat for you guys. Everybody who's listening right now live, make sure you tune into That Bigfoot Podcast tomorrow, because Wayne, the man, the myth, the legend, the Sasquatch savant himself, actually did a very good talk at. Ooh, that was awesome.
Y'all like that?
Yeah, he actually did a fantastic talk around the campfire. So we're putting that out for you guys tomorrow on That Bigfoot Podcast. It is out now for our Patreon members. If you're a member of Patreon or you are a member on Apple Podcasts, you got early access to it, ad-free. It's out there for you right now. And if you want to become a member of our Patreon, just head over there. There'll be a link in the show notes for you. And you can get early access to those shows and get those ad-free as well. Marianne, did you have a favorite part of this? I know it's hard to say. Wayne. I don't even know how you're doing that, man, but it's really
I didn't know that shit would happen.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
He's live now. Every Tuesday, you guys come see us for Wayne's laser show.
Wayne's World. I'm going to come back to that in a second, but we have another guest. I'm going to put him on right now. First, I'm going to check his mic settings to make sure that this shit sounds right before
Please
I
tell me it's Robert.
We are professionals. Welcome to the stage, our brother from another mother. It is none other than Robert himself.
Ah, that's my boy.
Good evening.
What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot, man.
Robert, oh my God, I'm so happy to have you on here. I have missed you so much, dude. It's like a little girl's crush or some shit. I don't know. You had me rolling, laughing, and Brian as well. I mean, oh my God. I mean, no, the cars broke down. We just pushed it backwards up his hill.
Pushing up this fucking hill.
Makes no sense to anybody else.
No. Robert is one of the naturally the most funny dudes on the face of the earth and one of the most quick-witted dudes with his comebacks. He had us literally in stitches. I mean, the 2 minutes that you heard, that was me naturally laughing the entire time, trying to catch my breath. Between him and Wayne, I pissed my pants like 4 times and my stomach was killing me. I thought I had abs, but clearly I didn't. All I had was pain from all the laughter that was caused by Robert and Wayne. So I got to ask you, I was going to ask Marianne this, Robert, but it's a more fair question for you because this was your first time going to the Campout and experiencing this. Did you have a favorite part of the Campout? What was it like for you, man? What was your favorite parts of the weekend?
Shoot, just how just everybody was just badass. I mean, and not one time was politics mentioned ever.
It was definitely nice to be in that company with people that were just there for like-minded reasons.
Yeah,
getting out in the woods and having a good time and laughing. We had an absolute blast, man. And for everybody, there was a little bit of behind the scenes, right? We didn't have any service where we were, but William, the owner of the property, was like, okay, you guys know where the cemetery is, right? Because there was this creepy ass cemetery on the way into the property. He's like, if you drive up there, you might get 1 bar or possibly 2. And my flight had gotten moved to the point where I was going to end up getting back into North Carolina at like 3:00 in the fucking morning. And I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. We're going to have to move this until tomorrow so everybody can get some rest. Robert and Marianne were going to have to take me, an hour and a half to the airport. It just wasn't going to work. So I was going to hop in Wayne's rental car and I was like, hey, dude, will you drive me up to the cemetery? And we were talking Robert into coming with us. Like we had to twist his arm and tell him to get in the car. And we had best hour and 50 minutes of our life. He had us literally pissing our pants in the back seat. He was like, we were laughing so hard. We were backed up on the back. I can't even explain it to people, but we had this guy come by and ask us, we're sitting there, we're running the car. I'm on the phone. We got the air conditioning running. And this guy comes by and says, hey, you guys all right? And we're like, yeah, we're good. Without missing a beat, Robert says, yeah, the car broke down and we decided to push it up this fucking hill. We're just fine. It makes no sense to anybody but us.
He said, yeah, we should have told him we needed some help. Get out and help us push. He said, Wayne, give me gas. I think Brian said the air conditioning's fucking blowing Wayne's locks.
And Robert's like, we'll just tell the guy we got it in P for push in case he starts on the front of the car to get us farther up the road. But yeah, a little inside baseball.
It's not funny to y'all, but oh my God, my ribs, my ass. I don't even have. I'm fat, y'all. Brian confirmed that. I'm fat, but if I have abs underneath this, I don't have a 6-pack. I have a keg. But if there's a 6-pack under the keg, they were hurting as much as we were laughing. I mean, I was really afraid. On other nights, the last morning I was there, Marianne came over and she grabbed me by the arm and she said, hey, let me talk to you. And she led me away from people. We had a great talk. We had a really good talk. I'm not going to get into what we talked about. Tears were shed. I'm not going to talk about what we talked about. But I was really scared that she was going to scold me. I was like, am I in trouble? What did I do? Because our little corner, there was the tent setup was amazing, but we were the cool kids of the Campout. Everybody was hanging out with us. We were laughing. Just belly roll, just guttural laughs. And I was afraid
because it was like you all sounded like the chickens crowing up there and carrying on.
I was afraid that was going to be our talk where she broke it to me. You're not welcome back here ever again because you're too funny.
Yeah, we were definitely the cool kids in our own mind. I'm sure there were absolutely on the Campout who felt like they were the cool kids and not us. In our minds, we were the cool kids for sure. So the bottom line is, folks, if you get the opportunity to come and do the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and subsequent camp out afterwards, because we did the amazing conference. We didn't really even get into the conference, but the conference itself was amazing. Great venue, amazing speakers, just a great time had by all. And then we got to leave directly from there right after that on Saturday and head out to the amazing area that we got to camp. And there's been activity there in the past. I think there was activity there while we were there. Again, I think I got some knocks. I think I recorded some of the tapping on the metal that we had talked about while we were there. So I'll go through all that audio over the next couple of weeks and we'll get some of that stuff out. I'll pull the interesting stuff out for you guys to hear. But I don't know what else to be said, man, other than it's going to happen next year, folks, and you got to be there or be square. The only way to be a part of it is to get your ass out there to the Ozarks, get out to Missouri, come to the Marianne, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you looking at a date already? Have you got that kind of figured out, at least the time of year? Are you going to stick with what we've got going on in the past?
It's going to be the end of September. Probably, if I remember, because the weekend that we normally did it, he already had something booked. So I think the next available one at that same venue was September the 20th, but I have to get that locked in. But that's what we're looking at, still around the end of September. And definitely you and Wayne need to be there.
I'm going to block it off on my calendar for sure.
And you got to bring Danny. Got to bring Danny this time.
You guys should do the same. We will definitely keep you guys abreast of the situation.
A titty of the situation.
I am definitely. That sounded a lot funnier in my head before I said it.
No, but seriously, guys, Nana Boss on here, Marty, she drove 20 hours, people. 20 hours. Make the trip. You will enjoy the shit out of yourselves. I promise you. The conference, it was great, as Brian said, but the Campout is so much better. You will enjoy yourselves. Please set aside those times whenever she announces it and come out and join us. We would love to have you.
Worth every penny of it.
There you go.
Thank you.
You heard it from Robert.
We did have, I don't know if we got to talk to you guys about this, but when we were, I guess it was Monday night when we went on top of the hill, we actually were growled at. We had heat signatures that looked like a domed head. Shane was checking it out, and we think it was a juvenile because when he went to check the spot, it was roughly around 5 feet tall, what he had thermed. And at one point, Nona and I sat down in the dark and all the rest of them walked off. We're just sitting there waiting. We're like playing bait, but we had some other things going on that caused the activity to, kind of die off. But there's a lot of activity out there, and it was different this year. Like I said earlier, in the past years, there's certain things that happen, rock throwing, different things like that, but not nearly as vocal as what went on. And I've had a couple of people today send me some audio of knocks and things going on when we were all asleep in the middle of the night. So there's definitely some activity going on out there.
There you have it. You get to hang out with cool ass people, laugh more than you've probably laughed in years. And there's a possibility you're going to run into a Bigfoot. I think it's the best ticket in town as far as I'm concerned. We'll keep you guys up to date and abreast on the situation when those dates are finalized and when those tickets go on sale for next year. We'd love to see you all there. I don't know. Should I give anybody else got anything before we get out of here? Because Wayne always gets the final word on the show.
There's Danny. What you got, buddy?
I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead with your laser show and everything. Let's hear it. Give it to us.
Oh, yeah. Don't make me look stupid. God,
you better charge more than $20 if you got lights too. Like this is turning into a fucking Taylor Swift concert or something. You better gouge those ticket prices up.
All right, guys, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate you. Like and subscribe. Please do so if you haven't done so already. Keep those reviews coming. Emails, voicemails, all of that good stuff. We love you. We thank you for everything that you've done. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.
Bye.